Welcome back to Your 1230, the only podcast where our guests tell their story with the help of 12 questions in just 30 minutes. I'm your host, Mike Salitro, and today we are very excited to be joined by Ingo Schulmeyer. Ingo is a free spirit, a transformational health and life coach who left his corporate career as a director level in semiconductor industry a little under 2 years ago to start a new life with his family in Mexico. He helps people make fundamental changes to develop a healthy, happy, and energetic life. And by the way, he's a six-time Ironman finisher as well. Ingo, welcome. We are really excited to be speaking with you today.
Yes, thanks for the invitation, Mike. I'm excited to be here. It's an honor for
Excellent.
me.
Really good to hear. And there's a lot of good stuff there. And I cut the bio short because I wanted to get into it. But with all the
Sure.
things you're up to and all the changes you've had the last couple of years, if you meet somebody new on the street or you're introducing yourself, what do you tell them that you do, or how do you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So usually I say now that I'm a coach, so I'm working in coaching. That's what I'm doing right now. Aside that, I think see myself as a digital nomad and a world citizen. So I like to focus on my freedom because that's an aspect that is important for me. And I think before, when I was working in my career, I was quite successful in the corporate life. But the aspect of freedom was missing, and now I really enjoy it. I have more time for my kids, for my family, and also for the things that I love to do and that I'm passionate about. So,
Excellent. I want to follow up on a lot of those things, but the first I want to ask about is how did you know it was time to leave corporate for you?
that's a good question, and I think it took me quite some years, and I think it's also a difficult decision to make. So I felt over the years that I was not really becoming successful with my career anymore. I mean, I achieved my goals, and I was getting promoted every once in a while, and everything went well, so to speak. But it didn't really give me what I needed to have. Like didn't give me fulfillment. And I noticed this already a few years earlier. But all of us have this limiting beliefs that we think, okay, I cannot quit my job because I need the salary and I have a family and I need the money. And there's like especially if you have a family, I think it's even more difficult than when you're alone.
Yeah.
So you need to make the decision for all of us, for small kids. And then I think that the turning point came during the pandemic when I really didn't enjoy my work anymore, and also the kids didn't go to school anymore, and my wife didn't work anymore, and I was just sitting at home and doing Zoom meetings, and I was getting more and more bored. So and then we said, but my wife and I discussed it. We said, okay, let's go for an adventure. Let's try something new, and let's go to Mexico and travel and give at least for the kids something that gives them more value. Because also, like, I mean, they also didn't enjoy in school anymore, right? Because it's if you just one day you have Zoom meetings, and the next day maybe you go to the classroom with your friends, but then they close it again after a few days because there was some positive test coming up. So it was not enjoyable anymore. We said, okay, let's do it now. Let's break all the borders and leave. And we changed a little bit our mindset. We thought, okay, I mean, what is the worst thing that can happen? We just said, okay, in the worst case, we will go there 1 year and we will have 1 year vacation, and we had some savings, so it was not a problem. And if we don't like it after 1 year, we go back and I look for a new job. So that would be like the worst case scenario, right?
Not a
like
bad
our
worst case.
exit door.
And how did you determine Mexico as the place to be? What was that conversation like? Had you been before, or what made it the right place to take this 1 year adventure?
I think we were always interested in Mexico. I was never there before, but it was interested. It was easy to get there. It was easy to get a residency. And we also, I mean, there were a few other options especially in South and Latin America. But we thought, okay, Mexico is a big place, right? Because we didn't really know, I mean, if we want to go into Caribbean or if it's not too hot for us at the beach. So Mexico, you have a great variety of landscapes and cultures and different cities and rural life. And so it's a big country, so you have a lot of opportunities. And that's what we also did in the beginning. We were just traveling around for 9 months and checking out different places. And now since a little more than 1 year, we found a place that we really like, and we're really happy here.
Very nice. Very nice. You mentioned freedom and being a digital nomad as being part of the calculus in this decision. How did you get there? And ultimately, what does freedom mean to you now that you're on this path and continuing along?
So first of all, I think that's one of the good things that all the technology and also the pandemic brought with us, or at least the pandemic speeded it up a lot, right? That we have the freedom to work from any place that we want, right? We don't need to be in the office anymore physically, but we have much more opportunity to work from all over the world, and that's one thing that makes it easier. The other thing is freedom for me is that I can do what I really want, and for me that means that doesn't mean that I'm sitting at the beach all day, right? We're not even living at the beach, but it doesn't mean that I'm lazy or something. I'm actually quite busy, maybe even more than before, but I can have the flexibility to schedule my day, and I can focus on the tasks that I enjoy, and at least from a work perspective, I can do what I want and focus on the clients I want to work with, and so I'm more flexible here. And I don't have a boss that is telling me what I need to do.
Yeah, you hit on the big things, just writing them down. You mentioned being fulfilled with the work that you do. Obviously, when you have that, you don't mind working more. And then the two pieces that you mentioned, the flexibility to work when you want with whom you want and on topics you'd like, and the scheduling piece that again you might be working more hours or it might be more demanding work, but if you have the control of those things and ideally slotting it into a schedule that works for you and your family, it it really changes what your day-to-day looks like. It sounds like the family part is a big part of why you have chosen this path. Were they always on board? Did it take any convincing? And what's some advice for those of us with kids thinking, "I'd love to do that, but I don't know if my kids could move anywhere outside of our neighborhood."
Yeah, I think that's a valid point, and I think depends on the age. I think we catch the kids in an age, or we made this decision in an age of the kids where it was still possible. Like when we left I have two boys, they were 10 and 12 years old. And I think that's still okay, right? I mean, I think if they're a little older, when they're teenagers, it's more and more difficult to take them out of their known environment when they have friends, and they want to anyway, they want to be more with their friends than with their parents. I think we did it in the right time. And of course, I mean, it's for everybody, and especially also for kids. When you make such a decision, I mean, there's some uncertainty, and of course, can sound scary to make this decision. But I must say, I mean, our kids were really cool and easy, and they were really great, and they really enjoyed it from the first minute. I mean, we enjoyed the traveling around in the car with sleeping 9 months in Airbnbs. After that, it was also enough then, in a way, but it was because it's also quite intense, right? If you're like 4 people, and we have also a dog and a lot of luggage all the time in small rooms. And then since last September, they go to school here. From the first day, they said, okay, they will stay. They don't want to go anymore. So they learned the Spanish so quick, it's unbelievable. It's almost a little bit embarrassing for us older people how quick they learn. And kids are very flexible, and they adapt very quickly to new environments. So it was really great decision, and none of us regret it.
It's good to hear on their end. Not as impressive as somebody who can only speak one language myself, so I get that our kids can pick it up much faster than we can, so that part I get. Being there for 9 months, being on the road, uh, you know, bouncing between different properties. Did you guys have a welcome to Mexico moment, or this is the story that we tell everybody? It's like, well, this happened and we had no idea, or this was the completely out of left field and we handled it pretty well, but we can look back and laugh now.
Well, there were many stories. I think one tragic story that really was very sad for us was we arrived here actually with two dogs that we brought from before we lived in Israel. So we brought them from Israel. So one of them got sick after 3 months and died. So she was very sick. She was actually young. She was like 3 years old. And she got like a virus and she died after 1 month suffering. So that was really painful because it's also, you make the decision to take the dogs, and it's also like you have to take them in the airplane. It's a lot of stress for them. So yeah, that was a sad moment, and it's but yeah, it's also part of life, right? So it's
That can't be easy, being that far away from home and having a situation like that. But kind of changing gears for a moment, we talked about your starting a different kind of career path as a coach. Who are you coaching, and what are you working on them with?
So I coach private clients, and actually I coach them if they're in a similar situation that I was, and if they want to make a similar transformation. And I don't mean here that they have to move now to Mexico or something like that to get to work. It's more like the internal transformation I made, right? From living in a corporate career or even in being self-employed or being entrepreneurs. But if they want to change something in their life and they want to lead a more purposeful life and make this transition, so it's called transformational growth coach, and I'm helping them to overcome their limiting beliefs and their fears, and yeah, to build a plan to make them successful, to have a more purposeful life.
So I think most people are familiar, or at least have heard the term limiting beliefs. But what does it mean? How does it work, and how do you help people overcome them?
Yeah, the interesting thing with most of our beliefs is that they're formed in a very early age, right? So usually when we're children. So that means and most of the people, they don't work so much internally. And I think it's especially, or it's more true even today in our fast-paced world, where we have so much distraction from media and from friends and from all kinds of stuff. We're all the time distracted and influenced, that we don't have time anymore to really try to understand ourselves. And that ultimately means that we're still carrying beliefs that we have from a 5 or 6 year old kid. And sometimes they're holding us back. They can be fears, or there can be traumas, and there can be all kinds of different things. And I think that's the stuff that's very important to work on in order to be successful in achieving goals, right? And the interesting thing is that this is, of course, very individual and it's for everybody completely different, right? And my task as a coach here is not to bring now like the one size fits all solution, but by asking questions to help the client understand what are his or her limiting beliefs and what is him or her holding back, right? So and it's very personal thing, I would say.
And with it being something that is personal and has been rooted in us for a long time, or perhaps since we were little children, is this something most people are aware of? What's holding them back, or is this something that, first of all, that has their eyes have to be open to? That not only do these changes need to be made, but it's beliefs that you have that you may not even be aware of that are keeping you from the places you want to go.
Yes, absolutely, that's correct. And I think probably, I don't know, 90% or even more of the people are not even aware that something is holding them back. And they're living like a life, let's say their life is comfortable, like my life was before I made this transition, right? So you have a comfortable life, like you work, you're coming home, you have your television, you have the dinner in the evening, you go to restaurants sometimes. So it's not that it's really bad or disturbing, but it's just not fulfilling, right? And most people, they're living in their comfort zone, and they don't even think about going out of that. So, and then in this case, it's that there's nothing to help, right? The first thing to happen is be in the client or in the person that they recognize the situation, and that they're willing to do a change, and that they're willing to work on themselves. And there we can start then.
So, I mean, your story is certainly one to kind of highlight as a exemplary or a case study of why this works. Do you have a success story from maybe one of your clients or somebody that you're working with currently that you highlight and say, here's why it's important to do these things. Here's why it's really important to move away from that life of comfort that you described, that even if this is what most people are doing, working 9 to 5, coming home, repeating 5 days a week, here's why it's important. Here's a story that really brings it home. Do you have one of those that you like to share either with prospective clients or with people that you're working with?
Yeah, I can share one story. That was a lady. She was in her 50s. She was actually also successful in a director level position in the industry, and she was also working a lot, but she was also not getting happy. And we worked on her beliefs. And actually, she was telling me, and I was asking her, what is she working for? And she said she's working for her health and her free time. But all the work, when I asked her about her work, she told me the work makes her suffering and makes her sick. And that's actually an interesting point, right? In this, I think it's a paradox thing for many people that we're working many hours and we stress ourselves for so much time, like 9, 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, all over the years, just to have a little bit more money in our free time and to have money to take care for our health when we're getting older, because our health was ruined from the job we're actually doing, which is interesting, right? So we actually need to earn. We need to ruin our health to earn money to rescue our health afterwards. So and that was very interesting point for me. So and that's why I think yeah, it's always important. And also in my coaching, I have a focus on the different areas of life and that they're in a balance, right? That not only the job or it's not only the family and it's not only the body, so there need to be a balance between the relationships, the job, and if each of them are in balance, then it's more or less okay. Then it can be okay. But if one is everything and the others are nothing, then usually it doesn't work. If I neglect my body for 30, 40 years, then that's not a good thing.
Yeah, the balance part, goes back to the one size fits all not working for anybody, that it is a balancing act, and generally that is going to be up to each person where they are professionally, personally, and how those things all fit together. And the example that you give, that you rob your youth and your younger years and your health while being in a job in a stressful situation, with the idea that at some point you can walk away from that job and hopefully be in good health, it's a scary story, but it's one that too many people face as a reality, that they, may not be thinking long term of how many side effects and how negative this could be for them. Um, Changing gears again, you're an Ironman finisher. Which of the three portions of the event is your favorite?
I like the bike the most, but I
Okay.
was always cycling more, so it's also my best discipline. So I like it.
And how did you decide that, cycling, 20, 30, 50 miles, if not further, was not enough exercise? Like, you know what else I need to do? I also need to jump in the water. I need to run. How did you know this is what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I always loved endurance sports, and I started to be a little bit more crazy about that when I was like 18, 20 years old. Um, and I started actually with running, and then I was studying at a university where so we lived in the mountains in the Black Forest in Germany, and I started running a lot of mountains up and down. And from running downhill all the time, I got a little knee problems. So I started also cycling because I said, okay, cycling is better for the knees. So I did a lot of cycling and also did like long distance bicycle races, but and also only cycling I get. Yeah, it's also not a complete exercise for the body, so I get a little back pain. And then I think it was in 2006, 2007, I decided, okay, cycling alone is also not the right thing. So I'll add swimming, I will learn swimming, and I will do an Ironman. So that's how I actually started.
Just to level set, what is
And
it?
I must say, since I'm combining this, running and cycling with swimming, and swimming is a perfect exercise for the whole body. It's just like strength training. So I don't have any issues anymore. I don't have any pains. I don't have any injuries anymore.
Okay. So for those listening, looking for the perfect exercise, just an Ironman is the way to go. What are the distances? Just because it's not just a triathlon. I mean, not that I want to minimize the triathlon. What are the distances for an Ironman?
I need to calculate now in miles. It's I think 2.4, 2.6 miles swimming, like 3.8 kilometers. And then it's 112 miles ride, and then marathon, like 26 point something miles run.
I'm not laughing at that by any means. It's just those numbers just are staggering because all three of those alone are very, very difficult, and most of us will have maybe complete one piece of that. But you've done it 6 times, so very well done, Ingo. We've jumped around a ton, but I do feel like I try to ask questions about all areas. Is there anything I didn't ask you that I probably should have that would have made sense?
No, but maybe I want to add to what you said at last, that finishing an Ironman seems to be impossible for most of the people.
Yes.
And I think the problem here is that most people think too small. And in my opinion, the body and also the mind or the spirit, or the entire human is capable of much more than we think we can do. Right. We just need to believe in that. Right. And I mean, when I started, I also didn't think I'm an Ironman, and I even, my dream always was to go to the Ironman World Championship, and I finished the dream in 2018. So basically 10 years after I started doing Ironman competitions, I finished that dream. And 2007, I wouldn't even think that's possible, but it was just like that I consistently believed that my dreams can become true if I work on that, and if I work disciplined, and if I'm walking in this direction. So I think just an advice, don't make yourself smaller than you are, and dare to dream big.
I'm really glad you said that because I want to dig into that a little bit. You mentioned that it was a 10-year, 11-year kind of journey from when you began to when you ultimately reached your goal. For those listening who are thinking, okay, I'll try that, and having an understand that it is not going to necessarily be overnight and it's going to take a lot of hard work and consistency. Is there something that you should kind of focus on, whether it is that this is going to take time, this is going to take consistent effort, this is going to be difficult, but not thinking small, kind of the first step? Where's a good place to start with that?
I think the most important point that I see also sometimes in race, I mean, in this particular topic now, but I think it's applicable also for different areas in life, is to start slow and don't expect too quickly results. I think that's one of the common problems, right? And it's also what did we get told from all the social media and stuff, right? We want to have, like, in 2 months we want to have lose 5 pounds, and in 3 months we need to have whatever, like get 10 clients or something. These are the short-term solutions, and most people, if they do something, they want the result to see it now. And you need to basically delay your gratification, right? You need to be able to stay consistently, and you need to know that the results and the incentives will come. And that's happened to me all the time. I mean, just like 1 or 2 months ago, I went to like a trail run here. It was a 32-kilometer trail run, and it was a small one. There were maybe like only 30 people. But I started to run, and everybody was running like crazy, like they finished after 1 kilometer. And I said, okay, I will just run my pace and I will finish. I know how fast I can run to reach to the end. I know my body and I know what I can do. And in the end, I finished third because most of these people that start running so quickly, they don't finish because they give up because it's too fast. They want too much in the beginning. They overpace. So I think pacing is a very important aspect, that you step back, that you calm yourself down. You can set yourself smaller goals along the way, like milestones or something like that. But I think the pacing is where most people give up because they want results too fast.
I think the pacing and the milestones are big, and kind of juxtaposing the running with careers, with where we want to go, really makes a lot of sense, using that example that it's not how you start. It is having the understanding of, this is what I can do, this is what I am built to do, and here's how I can do it. Having a plan, executing that plan, even if it's, doesn't make sense with those around you at first. It's like, well, this is going to work for me, and in the end I finish third. So I like the way that you kind of tie those two together there. Ingo, where can our listeners find you or connect with you if they want to find out more?
So I'm most active right now on Twitter. So I'm going to put my Twitter handle in the show notes. It's actually it's at underscore the small reset, which is also my brand. And I also have a website where I'm talking about this, where they can also book free coaching calls for half an hour, and where we can evaluate their specific situations and see if there's interest to do more or to work together.
So we'll post that for sure in the notes. But let's end here. I love that name. Where does Small Reset come from?
That was my idea because a lot of people talking now about this great reset, and that we have to that we're killing our world and everything is bad, and that we need to do certain things. And I have a different approach. I don't even want to go discuss now whether it's good or bad, the other one. But I think my approach is the small reset is coming from more from a personal, individual perspective, right? Because I, for example, can only work on myself, right? I cannot change the world right now. I think if I work on myself and I become better every day and improve my relationships with nature, with other people, with myself, and do this constantly. And if enough people doing that, small resets for themselves, then I think we will also reach a better world, right? And we don't need to do one great reset.
It's a great name. I love it, and
Thank you.
I'm sure it's has to do with the Ironman, with that kind of next step, small step forward, and just keep getting in better time than yesterday, stronger than yesterday, and kind of moving it forward. So absolutely love it. We'll post everything in the notes that we talked about. Thank you so much for joining us, Ingo. This has been a blast, and I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you, Mike. It was a pleasure.